Hi everyone, Dr. Annalisa de Lima here. We're back with part 2 of our series, Nutrition and Wellness, with the amazing, inspiring Danielle Pettigrew. This episode has so much exciting information and all sorts of cool topics, so please take a look. And if you like what we're doing, please like and subscribe. Let's get right into it. Hi everyone, Dr. Annalisa de Lima here with Danielle Pettigrew. I'm back on our wellness series and I brought her in today to talk about all things nutrition. So I'm so excited to have her here. Welcome, Danielle.
Thank you.
What are some suggestions you might give to people on how to maintain balance? Like you talked a little bit before about there's some better options than others, or just in general, what are some suggestions you give to people on how to maintain balance in life is what I mean.
Yeah, I would say for most people, focusing on what you can add to each meal versus what you need to eliminate, I think is a good way to keep your mindset positive around nutrition. Adding in things like water, adding in things like protein, adding in vegetables, those are all things that you can focus on that are going to help kind of move the needle in the right direction, but aren't so life altering. You're I'll never be able to do this forever. So a lot of the time when people sit down with me, we're talking about what we're going to do, changing their diet and all of that. And they're well, here's the thing. Every night I have a little ice cream cone or I have a little piece of dark chocolate. And I'm that's great. You need to keep that. That keeps you satiated. That curbs that sweet tooth. Do not get rid of that. That is a vital process or vital part of your progress is keeping that thing that keeps you happy. I eat ice cream every single night. Sometimes it's other things, but that keeps me going. So I think it's important to have those things. So when we sit down, we'll usually kind of go over what a general meal should look like, making sure that we've got veggies at those meals. That fiber is going to help keep us full. Also, it's low calories for a lot of volume. So taking up a lot of space in your stomach is very important. Making sure that we have a protein source, and then carbs and fats come much easier. Those are much more accessible and typically tastier that we're adding to those meals. So we call it the plate method, where half of your plate is filled up with some type of veggie, which would be anything non-starchy. Quarter of your plate is protein, and then a quarter of your plate is going to be the carbs and fats that can go together or independently as well.
So that's good news that you can still have your treat at the end of the night. That was super important for me because I think the thought of just never being able to have some of those treats, or just really being so restrictive with them that when you actually have them, I want to eat a whole box of cookies instead of 1 or 2, was really a concept that was important to me. That it's not that they're bad foods, but some foods are more nutritious for us than others, right?
Yeah. And a little bit of fun food in there is not going to hinder your progress too much, and it'll probably have the opposite effect, which is keep you on track longer because you can sustain that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What sort of differences are there in the nutrition for men and women? Because I'm sure we have some guys out there that are wondering, what about us, right?
Yeah, men are very lucky. They just naturally are going to burn a lot more than us. They typically have more weight. Definitely, their bodies are able to hold and put on muscle faster, quicker, easier, all of those things, just because of hormone and just the gender itself is something that you'll typically see with men having more even if they don't exercise. So calorically, their needs are much greater than females. Metabolically, everything happens a little bit quicker for them. We all still need the same things, just in different quantities.
Right, so the fact that sometimes I can out-eat the guys, that's not necessarily
That's an impressive skill, for sure.
So as a gym owner and a coach, how does nutrition affect your success in sports or your ability to really meet your goals athletically? How important is that?
So I actually got into nutrition because I had a pretty significant shoulder bicep surgery a few years into my CrossFit journey, and I wasn't recovering, I wasn't healing, I wasn't able to do anything. And at the time we owned our first gym, my husband and I, we owned our first gym, and like we would coach the morning classes, we would go get Mexican for lunch, it was like super fast, and then we would come back and coach the evening classes, and that was like what we did every single day. And I was like trying to get back into it, like trying to get my shoulder to, you know, be able to do the things that I loved again, and it just like was not happening for me. And so like through that time I gained a bunch of weight, I was like super unhappy, and I was just like in so much pain. Like I couldn't even go for a jog because my shoulder was just like hurting so bad. So with gaining the weight, I got into nutrition and slowly just like started studying and like figuring out what my numbers would be and how I could set those, and got really into it. Like I loved the science side of things, so I like really nerded out, got into it, lost a bunch of weight, and realized that like as I was losing weight, like my shoulder just became pain-free. Like once I changed my diet, like the injury was just gone. I healed like super quickly, and this was like I was losing weight, but I wasn't like so heavy in the first place that would have been like what was injuring my shoulder. But basically right away when I changed my diet, kind of eliminated all the Mexican, then I just like was instantly better. I could do all the things again and like built up strength very quickly without any pain. And I realized that like I was eating such a high inflammatory diet that like once I cut that out, I felt amazing. And then, you know, we still go out and eat Mexican every once in a while or whatever, you know, eat less clean foods, and I like feel it in my elbows and my knees. Like I feel that right away. And so I like realized that that's what it was, and how much it was affecting what I love to do in the gym just by what I was eating.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you can really tell, like when you have got to the point where your body is used to eating certain types of foods and really eating healthily, that you feel it really quickly when you don't. Which you brought up, you know, inflammation, and there's so much, you know, research around certain types of food, and particularly sugar and inflammation, right? And I know we both enjoy our ice cream or whatever it is, but certainly sugar has been one of the components that I have really looked closely at because of its effect on me particularly. I've noticed when I eat a lot of sugar at a time, right, I feel a big difference. I definitely feel more stiff. I have a harder time recovering from exercise. I get a lot of headaches. And so just wanted to hear your thoughts on that a little bit.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of research saying that sugar is kind of that main thing, but you can also, you don't wear a Whoop, do you?
I wear it sometimes,
Where you get the data that's like, it tells you when you eat bad, like your resting heart rate is super high, your respiration rate, your HRV, heart rate variability is like very low. Like you can see that data on paper. Like you're not typing into this watch, hey, I ate Ben and Jerry's for dinner. Like it just knows because your body is like not responding to it well. So again, good in small doses. I think that's very important mentally. But you know, it's definitely good feedback when you go to the gym. You're like, okay, this is why I don't do this all the time. It really impacts.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool now that we're in an age where we have, you know, something we wear on our arms that tell us what our nutrition and sleep has done for us. In your experience, are there certain foods that like really improve mental health? Well, aside from, you know, ice cream.
Ice cream, obviously.
Yeah, obviously, for different reasons. I mean, that's short-lived. You probably feel worse afterwards. But in general, like what are some of the foods that you're aware of that improve mental health?
So there are a lot of foods that improve it because, you know, our essential amino acids, there are 9 of them, and we get those through foods. Our body doesn't make them. So we have to be ingesting those, eating those to get those, which a lot of them, like legumes, for example, they have tryptophan, which is a main contributor of like serotonin production, melatonin, like all of these things that regulate happiness, your mood, energy, sleep. Like we're eating those through food, and those are essential things that we have to eat in order to have that produced in the right amounts. So huge impact. So a complete protein would be something that contains all 9 amino acids, which would be like dairy, meat, poultry, pork, all of that stuff. Some like vegan ones would be like soy, buckwheat, for like non-meat options. But yeah, huge impact on mood, sleep, all of those things.
Yeah, I mean, not trying to deter anybody from, going consulting their doctors, their medical doctors, doing the treatments that are recommended there. But there's certainly so much information around healing mental health and other illnesses as well by eating proper nutrition. And so, as Danielle said, being able to eat those amino acids and all the 9 essential nutrients, is that what it was?
Yeah, amino acids, 9 of them. Yeah.
9 of them. So those amino acids, 9 of them, super important for maintaining your mental health and promoting it and adding to it. All right, so we had a couple questions submitted. I love when people get involved, and so I had a couple people reach out and want to ask Danielle some questions, so we picked a few. And so the first thing I want to bring up, which is like really a topic that has been around for a long time, but I feel like with women particularly, and maybe non-competitive athletes, people that work out just regularly in the gym every day, this has come up, the discussion about creatine, right? And I actually talked to you about it at one point because I was doing a lot of research on it for myself, because there are a lot of other health benefits that I read to creatine, including mental health, sleep, etc. So just wondering your thoughts on creatine for the non-athlete and for women.
Yeah, so creatine is one of the very few supplements that have been proven to be effective for the things that you mentioned, and then also for like muscle growth and repair. Anything that makes that easier so our body doesn't have to work quite as hard is helpful. So creatine contains, I believe, 3 of the essential amino acids. It's a blend of them that just kind of promote that healing process to make everything else a little bit easier, and again, not make your body have to work so hard. So out of all of the supplements, that would be one that is beneficial to most people according to studies.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of myths over time about creatine, and from what I've been reading, a lot have been disproven, right? And
yeah, I think women are scared to take it because it says that you gain weight or whatever. You just hold more water because of those muscle cells.
Yeah. And creatine is actually one, it is naturally occurring in your body based on what you just discussed, right?
Yes.
Those amino acids, is that correct?
Yes, so, but it's 3 that you would be eating through other
sources.
ways. Yeah, so you do need to take those in some form, but yes, you're just taking a little bit extra.
Awesome. And what about other supplements? So, I go to the nutrition shop, there's 5 million supplements on the shelf. For me, I've always been pretty much trying to get as much as I can from my food. I will use protein and creatine. Those are probably the only 2. I do collagen as well. But just wondering from you, what are some of the supplements that you recommend or that you use yourself?
Yeah, so when people come in and they start asking me about supplements, I kind of go back to what their day-to-day diet looks like. Most of our supplements, getting those vitamins and nutrients, minerals, all of that should be coming like from our natural diet. Like I mentioned, not a ton of them are like proven to be effective outside of like creatine. Protein supplements are very helpful for those who struggle to hit their protein goals, but kind of outside of that, there's not a lot of research that like proves them to be effective. Where supplementation comes into play is like when you're deficient in something that is essential. So vitamins and minerals, for females, it's like very commonly iron, magnesium is another popular one, zinc, vitamin C, all that kind of stuff. But it's not something that I necessarily recommend without going to your doctor and getting like a blood panel. A hair tissue mineral analysis is another popular one that can really give you, your individualized feedback and needs, what your diet is lacking.
Yeah. So I might potentially be wasting my time and money with collagen. Who knows?
No, that'll just help. That'll help.
It could be a placebo effect. I'm okay with that right now.
Your hair looks great, so I think it's working.
Might be good lighting. But so, I think that's great advice, that really our goal is, and I remember this when I had my horses, I would go to the vet and say, what supplements should my horses be on? And, in places where horses cannot get the balanced diet that they need, we needed to supplement. So if the food sources were poor or not good, we needed to supplement. But other than that, they really should have been getting their nutrients in what they were eating. So it kind of goes the same for us, right? So I have one other question here, which I think is a good one, because I feel like we never quite know what to do. when should we eat? Like, should we eat before we work out, particularly if you work out super early in the morning, right? Which is not me, but I'm kind of mid-morning. But if you work out super early in the morning and you just wake up, you're not really hungry, like what do we need to eat before we work out?
So it's totally fine for you to go to a workout fasted, especially if you're like the 5, 6, even 7 a.m. I think would be totally fine. You don't want to go into a workout super hungry because that's what you're going to be thinking about. If it was like a long endurance workout, like you could become dizzy and that sort of thing. But what really matters for those like early AM people would be like what they're eating the night before. So you might want that meal to be like a little lower in fiber. You don't want it to be like a huge meal full of veggies, maybe like a little bit, but some of that can like slow down digestion, make your stomach like a little bit too full in the morning, or also give you like some bathroom issues at that time. But you know, eating a meal that's full of carbs and proteins, potentially even a little bit carb heavy, if you're like doing something super strenuous the next day, it could be beneficial. So don't necessarily need to eat the morning of, you'll be fueling that workout the night before.
Okay. So I know that sometimes when I've had, like I work out maybe a little bit later than that and I've had a little time, if it's something that is not as strenuous, going fasted, I felt fine. But there are times when it's like a longer workout, more of an endurance, or it's a lot of heavy lifting, and I feel like I really need something like a quick snack. What would be something quick that I could do?
Yeah, so this is where you actually want to kind of have those like higher sugar items. So something that is like broken down to its simplest form to where your body doesn't have to digest it before it gets the energy. So like something like a protein shake and maybe like an applesauce pouch or something like that, like a fruit that's kind of high glycemic would be like a good option for you, you know, 30, 45 minutes before a workout.
Awesome. I like that. So I feel like I have so many more questions for Danielle, but I don't want to keep her here all night on nutrition. We might have to bring her back if we have more questions. So if you have more questions, definitely put them in the comments, send them to me, and we'll try and lure her back on another time to get those questions answered for you. So what we really learned today is that nutrition is super important, not just for, you know, feeling good physically, but feeling good mentally, and also just for healing, right? The healing properties and living your best life. So great to have you on, Danielle. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us.
Of course.
I love working with you. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow in the gym.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.